Welcome to another unboxing and first look. This is a bit of a strange product because we're pretty close to the launch of Intel's Haswell architecture, and that's going to require a new socket, but MSI has just introduced their gaming series of motherboards. So it's going to be pretty obvious right from the start that the Z77A-GD65 Gaming takes a lot of cues from the original Z77A-GD65. with some enhancements. So it doesn't cost that much more, but it does cost more, but you get a couple of things for your money. So number one is right here on the front of the box, and that's the killer E2200 game networking. So that's network prioritization for your games. The killer software has some other cool features like being able to bandwidth cap certain applications through software, like if you want to limit the speed of a YouTube upload, for example, you can do that. They've also got some Fnatic branding on it. I don't know how much Team Fnatic knows about motherboards, but at any rate, this particular series of motherboards is recommended by Team Fnatic, and it comes with this pretty sweet sticker that looks a little something like this. Other than that, we've got what is essentially pretty much a GD65, which is a very solid board, one of my favorites, to be perfectly honest, on the Z77 platform. And let's have a look at what they've got to say for themselves on the back. So yeah, you still get OC Genie 2, which is one button overclocking. Military class 3, so that's military class components having passed the MIL STD, well, I'm sure they mean standard, not STD, 810G testing, okay? And then there's the killer Ethernet right there, which it's hard to say how much of a difference that makes over a solid Intel networking solution. But when I was using it, what I can tell you is that I did notice, particularly for me, a big difference in the convenience level of being able to make on-the-fly adjustments to how much bandwidth applications are allowed to use. So here's that sticker I talked about before. It's a nice sort of solid sticker, got a 3M backing on it. You can put that on your case, should look pretty cool. There you go. What else we got in here? All right. 4 SATA 6 gigabit per second right angle cables. All right. We've got M connectors, so those are for people who have trouble plugging in the little connectors for front USB 2, as well as front panel sort of switches and whatnot. SLI flexible black connector, those are my favorites. Drivers and utilities, download this from the MSI website. Software and application user guide, quick start guide, user guide. A door hanger. Love seeing these included. I'm sorry, busy gaming. And I'm not here. So those are the only two options. Busy gaming and not here at all. All right, so voltage checkpoints. And finally, the back panel connector, which has a new red and black color scheme. Can you see that, B-roll? Awesome. All right, so let's have a look at the board itself. Actually, I shouldn't have said that the networking thing was the only thing that changed about it, because there were some other things as well. So layout wise, we've got an all new cooling solution. So there's a single heat pipe. It's not a super pipe, it's just a regular sized heat pipe that leads between two sort of dragon themed looking heat sinks. They look outstanding. I kind of wish that it was a design element that you could really appreciate from the top, because most of the time you won't be looking at your motherboard from this angle. But either way, it does look outstanding, and I do really, I kind of geek out over sort of MOSFET cooling solutions because I think they look cool. So they've changed that. Other than that, the board is pretty much GD65 DNA. So you've got your LGA1155 socket here supporting up to second generation Core i3, i5, and i7 processors, all the overclocking features of course enabled. You've got an 8-pin connector here for your CPU power, 4-pin CPU fan, and then some more fans that are elsewhere. We'll show you those later. 4 DDR3 DIMM slots supporting up to 8 gig modules. You've got onboard buttons, which I personally really appreciate. I use an Open Test Bench a lot. Power reset and OC Genie, which is the 1-button overclocking. These little LEDs up here show you how many power phases are enabled, up to 8 power phases on your CPU. So it's just an indicator of what your CPU load looks like. Here's your V checkpoint, so you can check CPU voltage, DDR voltage, a few other key voltages using a multimeter rather than relying on software. Your 24-pin connectors and its ideal location along the right-hand edge of the board. This I love. This is probably worth like money to me. Like I'd pay an extra few bucks for a board with a right angle USB 3, because those connectors are so bulky and the cables are so stiff that when you try to cable management, it ends up coming in a big loop like this, whereas if it's on the side, you can actually run it somewhere directly without ending up with a big huge loop. So love to see that. We've got 2 SATA 6 gigabit per second connections that are running off the Intel chipset, 2 SATA 3 6 gigabit per second connections running off a third-party chipset, and 4 more SATA 2 3 gigabit per second connections running off the Intel chipset. You've got 3 USB 2 headers. This particular one supports supercharger, so that's their fast charging for tablets, regardless of whether it's iOS or whatever else. A hardware dedicated multi-BIOS switch, and I'd like to tell a little story here about my GD65 board, which saved my butt because we had a bad flash in the middle of a power outage, okay? So we were flashing the BIOS, power went out. We had no UPS, it bricked it. All I had to do was flip the switch and we were back up and running, and we had a review deadline that was coming up, and it just totally saved our butts. So that made me pretty happy. So I love that switch. You've got an LED readout for post problems, another sort of Dragon designed, you know, Southbridge heatsink. Honestly, these aren't cooling much these days anymore, so, you know, it's mostly for show. 4 PCIe 1X slots, 3 PCIe 16X slots. However, it's strongly recommended not to use this one unless you are running a 3rd generation core processor, so that's an Ivy Bridge processor. It should be noted that you're going to be running an 8x mode if you're running SLI or Crossfire, and I do not recommend using really any Z77 board for 3-way SLI or Crossfire configurations, because even the ones that have switches on them, I mean, there are latency implications to do with that as well. So, all right, the other improvement that's being made here is a Sound Blaster Cinema implementation. However, this is a software implementation. It's still using a Realtek chipset. So it's hard to say how much of an improvement that's going to deliver in terms of things like, you know, headphone clarity or whatever else, but at least you get some more software functionality to go along with your new gaming motherboard. And the last thing that I did miss initially was gaming ports. So they do have USB ports on the board that are specifically optimized for 1000 Hertz polling rates, which some high-end peripherals do support. So you've got a PS2 keyboard mouse combo port. I do still like to see these. 4 USB 2.0 ports, CMOS clear switch, optical and coaxial digital audio out, HDMI, VGA, and DVI, 2 USB 3.0 ports. There's that killer NIC port. And you've also got 7.1 audio out. Other than that, it's a GD65. It's a GD65 with a better color scheme that costs a little bit more. Do I object to this? No. I mean, if you really think about it, it's like, what kind of a build do you want to make? Do you want a red one, a yellow one, or a blue one? Because you could buy yourself an M-Power, a GD65 Gaming, or a GD65, and you're going to have a pretty similar experience. You know, the M-Power is obviously OC certified, which means that they hand test every board for overclocking. The gaming one has the better LAN and sound implementations, and then the GD65 Vanilla is the vanilla board, but they all have pretty much the same functionality and pretty much the same performance when it comes down to it. Don't forget to subscribe to Linus Tech Tips for unboxings, reviews, and other computer videos, and I hope you enjoyed this video about the Z77A-GD65 Gaming.